Okay, so we have been working on this comfort zone challenge. Okay, so no matter where you are in this process or this practice, first and foremost, I don't want you to be hard on yourself if you didn't complete it. Okay, this is simply an exercise for you to test yourself and to kind of stretch a little bit. So I wanted to check in with you guys first because some of the important aspects of the comfort zone challenge are that you are doing something that doesn't feel comfortable, right? You have a specific target, a specific task, and then you have a time limit, okay? So those three things create that comfort zone challenge. And we really are in comfort zone challenges all the time, right? You know, whether we want to be or not, in life we find ourselves in those situations. Sometimes we are unconsciously stretched and we're forced to respond to certain situations. And that's kind of what we naturally can do. But when we look at expanding ourselves and really tapping into our ability to create abundance in our lives, this is where we begin to realize how powerful we are if we can just begin to consciously stretch. Okay, so what came up for you as far as, you know, what some of the blocks might have been? What were some of the things that you said to yourself in order to begin to move through it? So for those of you who did it, you know, did maybe one or two or maybe all of the challenges, what was it that you said to yourself that actually got you into action? Because that's really an important, that's a really important piece of information for you specifically, because that will help you in moving forward. Okay. And then what did you do? Like how was your process around completing some of these exercises? Okay. And then of course, what did you realize on the other side? Because there always is something on the other side. And my intention for giving you these three challenges was for you to realize something different about yourself that you wouldn't have normally seen or done on your own. Because one, it's not comfortable. Two, there's a time limit. And three, it might seem a little bit like, you know, why am I being asked to do this? So there's just a lot of different feedback that you may have gotten from yourself about this exercise. So what did you realize in this process? So anyone who would like to share is welcome to share. If you had trouble with this, please share that as well, because that's important too. And, you know, I can help to support you through that, because this is like the gritty stuff right here. I mean, as far as moving forward into your bigger goals, it's going to require the conscious stretching. So if you got stuck on this, let's dig in to what some of those barriers were as well. Okay, so we're just open to hearing what your experience was. So you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you are ready.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Laura.
Hi. So I did the challenges. I'd say the first one was by far the hardest one for me. The other two were a little bit of a stretch. I definitely felt some little nerves and pains in there, but the first one was by far the hardest one for me. And I just asked myself, what are you really afraid of? What's the worst thing that's going to happen to you? And then I walked myself down the rabbit hole and realized that none of those things were really bad. In the end, like how much of that really mattered to me. If somebody thought I was crazy or weird or all kinds of things. And then I just gave myself a hard date. I need deadlines. I needed to know that I had to report back to everybody, and by a certain date I had to get it done. And so I just gave myself a deadline, and I did it. And none of those fears came true. So realizing that all of those things for me were in my head, and that I'm capable of much more than I realized, was really the lesson that I learned for myself.
Excellent. So thank you for sharing your process with that, Laura, because this can be so simple. It's just all of that other mental chatter that goes on is what usually stops people. And something so simple as just showing up, or, buying flowers and handing them out to strangers, that's what the first challenge was. It seems so much harder when we start to think about it. And, I think what was effective for you was having that conversation. That's usually what's required, is for you guys to take yourselves on and actually listen to what you're saying to yourself and be really intentional about what you want to accomplish. And you were very clear on that yes, I'm going to do this. And then you went into, okay, what is the real challenge here? And you decided that it was your fear. And there were different shades of that. But what was also effective about what Laura did is setting the time limit. So I gave you guys about a week to complete that first challenge. And, truthfully, it wouldn't take more than a half an hour at the most. Like, that's giving you a big window of time. But what was effective, Laura, was just setting a time for yourself. Like, okay, I'm going to do this on Sunday at this time. And by 11 o'clock on Sunday, I will have this complete. So when you guys are setting your goals, especially when they're uncomfortable and it's something new, that is a really important process. It's simple, but you need to make it tangible in order for it to work. Otherwise, we get stuck up here, right? We could stay here for hours, days, weeks, and some people do. And they never actually make any progress on what they really want to do. And it can be so easy. It's just the unfamiliar aspect that is scary for a lot of people. So I love that you did all three, yeah?
I did, yes.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yes. So that is, okay, Michelle's here. Hi, Michelle. Glad you made it. Okay. So yeah, what's on the other side, like, you just never know, but usually it's good.
I felt better after I did all of them.
Yes. And that's important too, because there is a payoff, right? The payoff for not doing it is that, you continue to be right about what the limitation is. And then the payoff when you actually do it is that you build your confidence. Your confidence grows. You trust yourself more. Okay. And that's a big one, because sometimes we set goals for ourselves and we don't follow through. And then what ends up happening is we lose our ability to really believe in ourselves because we let ourselves down. So keeping your word to yourself is key as well. And that's what you did too, Laura. So excellent. I know it's not always easy, but you did it and you pushed through. And so that's the benefit. So good job. And this applies to other areas of your life, you guys. And this is why we do it. It's just kind of a little way for you to see how you respond to conscious stretching where you're not feeling that great, not feeling that comfortable. not seeing what the outcome's going to be. Okay, so let's hear from someone else. How did it go? And you didn't have to complete all 3. This is not like you're getting a grade for it. It's just kind of to share what the experience is so that we can start to gather some insight on how the blocks show up, how we can break through them. Or if you're super stuck, then we can support you with that too.
Can I jump in? Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely, Linda.
Okay. I wrote some notes so I could remember. What did I say to myself? I asked for permission and approval if it was okay to do what I did. And I thought in my mind, I must do this uncomfortable thing to get beyond my thoughts. And I realized that I was more courageous at giving than receiving. I'm not really good at receiving. I think that's being in control kind of thing. The deadline helped, but I realized that I do things at the very last possible moment. I will wait until literally I have to do it because I know it needs to be changed. So.
Thank you for sharing that, Linda. Okay, so let's kind of backtrack through that. You know, what you said to yourself is something that you're going to be saying to yourself repeatedly in the future as you consciously stretch. Okay, so can you share that one more time, what you say to yourself, so everyone can hear it again?
I always ask if I have the permission to do something, be an artist, be a mom, be anything. I don't know why I do that, but I do that. So.
Okay, so this is really helpful for you to be aware of because you actually don't need the permission, right?
Right.
So,
and I realized that meant giving my power away. And that has been a theme all week. Like I've actually explored that, and I do that in almost every aspect of my life. So.
Okay. And so that happens, right? And that's your feedback and that's your realization. So that's gold because now you know that when you start asking for permission that you're feeling a little bit unsure of yourself. And so what can you do in that moment? What did you do in order to move through that?
Well, I think the love letter was a turning point because I was able to see myself in a different light and in positive ways that weren't blocking anybody else. You know what I mean? They were good things. So I think that helped a lot.
Okay, so for you, it's going to be returning to your radiant qualities, your own light qualities. Okay, because I feel like it's less of a control thing and more of a worthiness for you.
Right. That's that's my first word in my declaration.
Perfect.
Is true. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the control is secondary, but it's really about you being able to believe that you are worthy of receiving good things. And you're worthy of being recognized and acknowledged for all the good qualities that you naturally possess, you know, whether it's your artistry or your kind heart, you know, there's just so many different things. So that's where you need to go when you start asking for permission.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the time thing, you know, it's like, if you wait to the last minute, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how you might work. You might work well under pressure where it's like, okay, I'm going to be maybe in resistance a little bit, maybe just kind of get a little familiar with that I have to do this thing, but I'm not ready to jump in yet. It's just kind of over there. And you can hold it at an arm's distance, but what is really important is the time element so that you can follow through and start to build that trust with yourself. That is the most important part of this, because other people aren't going to be checking you, you know?
No. And I'm pretty much, I do keep my own schedule. So I'm pretty used to that. But there are things that sometimes if I do them too soon, then they're not, I have to go back and redo them, or I have to go back and fix them. So I think that is my method of how I do things.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but it's just helpful for you to see how you work naturally. And just, you know, you can make some adjustments along the way, or you can just accept it because there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But the whole process that you went through is something that you can take with you when you're looking at, okay, I have to do this thing for my business and I feel so uncomfortable about it. You know, I'm going to make this offer, or I'm going to, you know, connect with this new person. And there's a lot of anxiety that can come up for any one of us when we're doing something new. And this challenge, the purpose was to kind of show you, like, this is how you respond. You know, it's just, you know, so you got that feedback, you got that information.
Yes. And I think the timing for me sometimes is unrealistic. Sometimes, like, I think I should be able to have my whole website done in like a day. And so I think in my mind, I have to be more realistic of the timing of my expectations, because that's when I give up, because it seems too hard because I'm not being realistic of how long it will actually take.
Mm-hmm. So chunking it down. So instead of the whole website, maybe say, okay, today I'm going to write my bio.
Right.
You know,
that's helped. That's helped a ton. That has helped a lot for me. Yes.
Baby steps.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And your website looks gorgeous, by the way, with all of your artwork. What is your website if any of you guys want to check it out? Because she's got so many beautiful pieces on there.
It's lindadoyleart.com. And I'm going to be adding more pieces because I've made more and I was in a show. So everything's moving along.
That's amazing. Congratulations, Linda.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Linda's got amazing pieces that have this transmission of energy that come through the nature. So yeah, just beautiful, beautiful work. That's from the heart, you know, and that's what you're meant to do. That's why earlier when you're like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing art, I'm like, yeah. Let's just give it a little more time. So I'm really glad that you circled back around to what comes naturally to you and really what your gift is, one of your gifts. So, yay. Okay, so anyone else want to share what their experience was? This is really helpful just to see that progression.
Can I say something to Linda really quick?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Linda, I just wanted to say that when you were talking about the controlling piece, just so you know, like, I do not see you as a controlling person at all. So I think that control for you makes sense, and that it's really about protection, right? The only time that clicks in is when you're feeling like you need to be protected. And I'm sure there's other ways to do that, but you're not a controlling person. So there's an important distinction. You're welcome.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Any other shares? Any other stuck points too? Because this is where we can support you. We're here to, you know, look at what's going on. It's real. Hey, Annette.
Okay. For me, it was actually seeing me on video. I think all this stuff, and I didn't want to see myself. Writing the love note to myself. It was like giving, kind of like what Linda said, giving permission to myself to acknowledge that I'm a good person, and not have put myself down and build everybody else up. It's like, just leave them alone. It's all about me, build myself up. And actually, I feel like I have really grown like a lot. I'm just really all out there now instead of in my little bitty world. And I know we all can do that. And Lisa, to answer your question on one of the comments, it was sarcasm, but it was a funny sarcasm. And that's how I get through a lot, because people don't really know.
Yeah.
It's a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thanks, Inez. Yeah, I could feel your laughter coming through that comment, because I'm like, oh man, she's gonna love this, because it was a more introverted, focus on yourself, and that I think was a bigger challenge for you in particular, because you're so used to, building other people up and supporting other people. It's really acknowledging you that got to happen, and I'm glad that you did that, because you are amazing. You're a good person. You're more than a good person, and your expansion has been amazing. But in looking back, you were so ready. Like when you were just like, anything, just let's just. I just need something different, and so we've seen more of who you are, and it's amazing. And you look really good on camera. So I hope that you continue that in your business moving forward. All right. So, okay. Let's just kind of skip forward here. I'm going to touch on a few things. I wanted to spend more time with the sharing, because it's valuable. But if you didn't do the challenges, there's still time to do it. That will give you some feedback, but I hope it's been helpful hearing each other. Okay, pruning your tree. We're looking at trees today, just because it's spring and things are growing. But as things are growing, there are things that need to be cut back. Okay, so when we look at your goals for 2019, your relationships, your habits, things like that, there are probably some things at this midpoint of the year where you can reevaluate and decide if you still need those, or decide if you still want to put your energy into those same things. Because, if you know anything about trees, it's like that center line is really that's the livelihood of the tree. And as you've got all these different branches of basically energy kind of shooting off of that center point, some of them get crossed, right? Some of them don't receive as much of the nutrients and they sort of dry up and die, but they're still attached. Sometimes you get these little water shoots that come out of the ground right next to the trunk of the tree that actually don't bear fruit. They just kind of come and they actually siphon energy away from the center line of the tree. So all of these aspects of an actual tree are a really good illustration for pruning away what no longer is lifting you up, what's no longer inspiring you. And I realize, we can't cut away people in our lives that we love that are like, this person's driving me crazy, right? We can't do that. We don't want to do that. But what I'm talking about is your goals. Look back at your ascension plan and see what you wrote down. I guarantee you'll be like, whoa, I did that. Like, I'm done with that. I accomplished that. Or you might look at another one and say, I wanted that. I don't want that anymore. So that's just, a part of your structure or, your being that you can actually let go of and release, so that you're tightening up your energy. You are cleaning up your energy around where you are placing your focus. because that's really important moving forward. We forget how much power we have with our focus and our energy. And I never want you to forget that. You know, moving forward, you have that authority within yourself to be able to cut back what you don't want to nurture in your life. You have the ability to place your focus on what you do want to nurture. Okay? So just look at what you can release to heighten the integrity of your tree, your life, your near future, what you're building on today. Okay? It may be cutting away bad habits. It may be pruning away, you know, people who are kind of energy drains on you. You realize that, I just feel depleted around that person, or I always leave feeling this way. These are all choices that you have. Or maybe I don't want to put as much energy into this project, you know, and maybe I want to place my energy over here. So it's okay to let those things go. Okay, we don't want to be doing it all, because again, when we start doing it all and scattering our energy, that center line is not receiving all of the nutrients, all of the energy it needs to be in its full expression. So I would say look back at your ascension plans, but also look at your everyday habits. What kinds of things could you let go of? And what kinds of things can you increase to just really be clear and clean with your focus? Okay. Yes, I kind of went through this. But let's look at your life right now, and let's connect with 3 default habits that you might foresee could get in the way of accomplishing one of your goals. Okay, so just looking at the next 3 months or so, next few months, what are some ways of being or some habits that might draw energy away from your goal or might conflict with the structure of your dream? So just take a moment to mentally note those, or you can jot those down if you have a pen and paper, because these are the ones to look out for. It's important to know what you don't want as well as what you do want. Okay, so we kind of know like those old patterns that we default back to when we have our goals, or maybe even when, you know, difficult like life circumstances come up. There are some default habits that just sort of show up because that is our comfort, right? So I notice like if I have too many things going on at one time, default habits that show up for me is that I'll start eating sweets, you know, chocolate, cookies, you know, you name it. I have such a bad sweet tooth. And when I'm feeling ungrounded or overwhelmed, I tend to do that. So when I notice that I've got, you know, 5 cookies on my plate and I'm intending to eat them, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, I need to back up and just really look at my energy and look at my choices. It doesn't mean that in itself is going to get in the way of my dream, but it's bringing me into a lower energy state. And that lower energy state is me being led by my coping versus being led by my intention. Okay, so you always want to evaluate those habits. So what are your habits, and just really being aware of what they look like so that you can redirect yourself. Okay. So coming off the heels of the comfort zone challenge, or even just this entire experience, what are 3 winning habits that will continue to serve you in your success? These are things that, have a proven track record with you, I guess. I mean, these are things you've done before that work for you. Okay, so it could be self-care types of habits that you put in place. It could be work type focus habits that you can put in place. So anything that works for you, what are those things? And this would be something that you could put on a Post-it note and just, with your default and your winning habits, just so that you've got it there like, oh, okay, I know what to watch out for. I know what to shift into, because that's a winning habit. It's always moment to moment throughout our day, right? We never know what that phone call is going to be. We never know, what's going to happen. What we do have control over, right, are what we do with our energy and our focus, no matter what is going on. Okay, so what are those winning habits? That is important. So let's just hear from a few of you guys of what are some of those winning habits. Let's get some ideas going here so we can kind of build on that. Because this stuff doesn't come naturally, you guys. And I want you to know that. Like, these winning habits, like, it takes effort. It takes discipline. It's not easy. Okay. Michelle, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. Hi.
For me, hi.
Michelle,
For me, it's going to be, I really love the daily journaling. Can you hear me? I think I missed it.
It's kind of breaking up a little bit, but let's.
Okay. How about now? Is that better?
Yes.
Is that better? Okay, sorry. So yeah, my first habit I love to do is the morning, like, daily journaling. And it just gets my mind set for the day. So, like, this morning, I just wrote down the feelings I wanted to experience today, like joyfulness, contentment, and some days it's more like I'm so happy and grateful for, what my intention is, my financial abundance, or whether it be, so I kind of just that's been really great for me. And then practicing, I guess this would be a second habit that kind of takes off from that one, is practicing that mindfulness and that intention that I set all day long, like just kind of resetting my negative self-talk, just reset, and kind of bring myself back to conscious, aware state of what I'm thinking. And then third is exercise, because exercise, like, I'll go through seasons of not working out and I find my confidence just declines rapidly. Just in general, like just not necessarily my weight changes or anything, but it's just for my emotional, mental state. I need to exercise regularly. So those are my 3. But did you ask for the default habits too, or just the winning one?
No, but if you want to share, go for it.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say, because I felt like, I didn't do the last the homework for the last couple of sessions, and that's why I haven't been chiming in. And I really want to do the video, and I actually want to admit something. I started to do the video, and I took 3 of them, and I deleted all of them because I didn't like them. So I obviously have an issue with that. Mm-hmm. But it makes me know that I need to do it, and I committed. I'm going to do that this week. So You heard me say it. But what I do, like my default bad habits are exactly when I'm overwhelmed is I retreat from everyone and I disconnect and I move into a negative self-talk, and that's like my downward spiral. So I know I need to not, even when life is overwhelming, just stay connected with people that lift me up. So I'm aware of it. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Michelle. All of it. Very powerful. And the default habits, the winning habits, all of it. And then with your videos, that's important feedback for you, right? Because it's like, you know, there's something there. And I think if you just do it, it'll just kind of melt away. It'll just, whatever those feelings were that were preventing you from hitting post, you'll just be past that once you do it. And that's how it works. So I'm glad you shared that last piece. All right. Let's get a few other ones. Winning habits, defaults, if you're comfortable sharing. What works?
Hey, I'll chime in.
Is this Nicole?
It is. Hello. Hello. Okay, so I wrote down that I break things into smaller, achievable goals as a winning habit, and something I can write down and check off. That's been more helpful again. The other is having, as I think you've already kind of mentioned this, but having visual reminders and supports throughout the day. So I have a dry erase marker message on my board, or on my mirror. Including, yeah, my power statement. And the third one is in the same vein, just the positive self-talk and cheerleading, like almost over the top sometimes, but it's been helpful. So even like silly little things. I don't remember if that was something we practiced here, if that came from somewhere else, but it's even just like on days where I'm feeling really low, it's like, oh, look how great you moved that plate over there. I mean, it's really ridiculous sometimes, but it helps turn things around. So, and then the ones that get in the way is procrastination and avoidance, distraction, which is kind of the same thing. And then either moving into overwhelm to the point of shutdown. So just looking at everything all at once. So that's how I led into the breaking it down into smaller achievable goals. So
that's perfect, Nicole.
Okay.
The cheerleading is so important for all of us. And it does feel a little exaggerated and ridiculous at times, right? A little forced.
Yeah.
It does work. You know,
it does.
So I'm glad that you're doing that, because it really makes a difference, especially if we have a really strong mental chatter that tries to kind of interject all the time.
With the opposite.
Yes.
Like, how could you mess that up? That's so simple. Yeah. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that for you, Nicole.
And I too will do the challenges. I have not been on Facebook, I confess, and now I've heard the other two. It's funny because I was actually going to do my own self set challenge. I was going to do a video before the end of this, so that's perfect. So
wonderful.
And I started handing out stuff too, so I'm halfway through that, but I'll give someone else a chance to talk, and I'll share about that maybe on Facebook. So, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Nicole. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And, you know, time-wise with the challenge, totally okay. You know, it's more for you guys to have the opportunity to see like, how am I going to experience this challenge? You know, there was the more extroverted connection challenge. There was the visibility aspect, and then there was the self-acknowledgement. So those were three really important ones. And whether you get to do it in the next week or so, or, you know, sometime in the next month, they're just valuable exercises. So I'm glad you're going to commit to doing those.
I am. I see. They're going to be valuable. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's get one more. Got a couple minutes here. Winning habits, defaults, if you're open to sharing that, or just winning habits. What works for you? How do you shift? What's created success in your past? I'm a list maker too with Nicole. I just jot it down and check it off. I feel so good. It's simple, but I know what to do. And I'll kind of put things in order of, I'll prioritize what my tasks are. And I'll choose one big task for each day to accomplish. So, and I put that first before I check the email or anything like that. So let's get a couple more. We've got, what time is it? We got 1 minute. Anybody?
I can go unless someone else who didn't want to go.
Yeah, let's hear them. Lauren and Linda.
Definitely meditation, even 10 minutes daily. I'm really resistant to doing it. I don't know why. Nicole's been my accountability buddy for this, and so I go in waves, and I'm doing it, and then I know I start to get off, and I can feel the tension, and then I need to get back in the routine of every day. It's 10 minutes. It's not a lot of commitment, but it makes a huge difference in my day just to kind of take that 10 minutes and reset and calm myself down. So that's been huge for me. And also the small realistic goals, like other people were saying, like Linda was saying earlier, I used to give myself huge goals and then I'd be just disappointed and frustrated. So making sure that everything is achievable in that day or in that timeline and breaking it down into smaller pieces has been huge for me. And also the time blocking, since I started doing it, 2 weeks ago, has really helped me significantly. Then I know what's next. I know how long I'm going to spend on something, and I can stay more focused.
Yeah, that structure makes a difference. And I would imagine the meditation for you would help with the patience and just that stillness, creating that within you. So that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Laura.
Yeah.
Okay, Miss Linda, we're going to end with you.
I'm just going to say my proven track record ones, because the default ones were sort of in my challenge. So they're repeated, the asking for approval and everything. So my 3 proven track record winning habits are eating more vegetable-based diet, less caffeine, early bedtime with tapping to release fear and stress, so I wake up like in a better frame of mind, and working creatively 6 hours a day, and not in a way that's so structured that even if it's 6 hours, I feel like I put a lot in, and maybe some things are started, but other things are finished. So it always sort of works out. It makes me feel better too, because I know that I'm moving along.
Mm-hmm. I like that unstructured time for you. Like you have time set aside, but it's unstructured. Yes. I think that's very effective for you. Cool. All right, ladies. Well, it's always good to see your faces, and I missed you guys. We have our last bigger class next week, and just make sure that you have your box with you. So we will get to open it next week. All right, ladies. Okay. So have a great week. Please revisit your Ascension plans to look at your goals, see which ones that you can check off that you have accomplished, and then maybe adjust some of the ones that are still in progress so that you can really begin to focus your energy, release anything, any things that aren't serving you right now, and really start pruning that tree. I mean, keep that image of the tree, because it will help you remember that, you don't need everything. Things are going to show up that don't need to be there. There can be old energy that needs to be let go of. So all of that, just that adjustment and that cleaning up of your intention and your energy. Okay, so let's unmute and say goodbye. Did I unmute you guys? Why is it not? You just might have to unmute yourself on your end. Okay, there. Okay, so we'll see you next week. I look forward to seeing your posts in the Facebook group. You know, it's not late. It's just, you know, it is when it is when you put it in there. Any updates or anything, don't be shy.
All right.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Bye.
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 Bye.